Now, as we do so many weeks here at the Daily Dose, we need to get over to our Daily Dose Top 5. So, when you remember the year 2023 in sports, what are you going to remember? Maybe it is the Georgia Bulldogs winning back-to-back titles in college football, or the Texas Rangers beating the Arizona Diamondbacks in the World Series. Maybe it is Connecticut winning the men's hoops title, or maybe like me, it is the Denver Nuggets winning the NBA title. But what is it that you will remember from the past year in sports? Because today we are counting down the top 5 most memorable moments in sports from the year 2023. So let's start off at number 5, and this one is obviously pretty recent. It feels really fresh to us. But in what will be the final year of the college football playoff, we got some pretty serious controversy because the undefeated Florida State Seminoles were dropped from the top 4 teams that actually make it to the college football playoff, not because they had lost a game, but because they had looked so awful without their starting quarterback, Jordan Travis, who had broken his leg late in the season. It has now gotten so bad that Florida State has sued their own conference, the ACC, over the grant of rights, basically saying that the conference has held them back. Now, that opens up the path for them to leave the conference and possibly join the SEC, or I guess maybe the Big 12, which I said was coming a long time ago. We knew Florida State doesn't want to be in the ACC. Now, Congress has talked about getting involved in this. And there was even talk that Florida State might not play in their Orange Bowl game. Hey, I feel bad for Florida State this year. I really do. But the committee did get it right. The problem is there are only 4 spots, and there are 5 major conferences. But Florida State getting jilted at the college football playoff altar, yeah, we're going to remember it. And it comes in today at number 5. We move next to number 4, and we once again go with a little bit of recency bias. And yet, when the Los Angeles Dodgers managed to sign the best player in all of Major League Baseball, yeah, it's going to be a moment that we remember from this year. Shohei Ohtani signed the biggest contract in sports history. 10 years and $700 million. And then he also agreed to defer salary so that the Dodgers can go get even more talent. And they have been busy. They have been doing exactly that. Now, do these deals guarantee that the Dodgers are going to win it all? No, of course not. Not at all. Hey, the Angels have had 2 of the best players in the league on their roster the last few years. They can't even make the playoffs. But the Dodgers are going out, and they're spending more money than some teams even have on just a couple of players. And we're going to remember it from 2023, and it comes in today at number 4. So we reach the number 3 most memorable sports story of the year that was 2023. And we go back to March Madness, where the Connecticut Huskies won the title after being a number 4 seed. They knocked off the number 5 seed San Diego State Aztecs in the final. Hey, it was a surprising final. I don't know how many people actually predicted those 2 making the final. But the biggest surprise of the tournament, once again, had to be that for just the second time in tournament history, we saw a number 16 seed upset a number 1 seed as the Fairleigh Dickinson Knights beat Texas Southern in that play-in round, and then went on to beat the number 1 seeded Purdue Boilermakers. Now, going into the tournament, did Purdue have some flaws? Sure they did. Because while they have 7'4" monster Zach Edey, we knew their guards could struggle at times. But Fairleigh Dickinson? Come on, be serious. After over 30 years of the NCAA tournament never having a 16 beat a 1, we have now seen it happen twice in the past 5 years, and I have a feeling we might keep seeing it because there is so much parity in college hoops. A 16 beating a 1 in March Madness comes in today on our list at number 3. So we arrive at number 2 today, and one of the stories that we are no doubt going to remember is once again in the world of college sports. Kids, college sports are changing. And I'm talking about massive changes. The conference that has produced 11 national championships in football, 24 in basketball when you count the men and the women, is ending because the Pac-12 has collapsed and it is going away. You know, that league, it's just been so poorly managed. Their TV network was a disaster. And then no one really wants to talk about it, but they allowed COVID to shut them down completely. And I mean, I know of one sports podcast by some bumpkin from Broomfield, Colorado, that called that then, and somehow the powers that be couldn't figure that out. A little bit bizarre. But we saw USC and UCLA announce they were going to jump to the Big Ten. And then Colorado, Arizona State, and Utah said they were going to go to the Big 12. And then Oregon and Washington were also going to go to the Big Ten. Now they're talking about Cal and Stanford going to the ACC, which, I mean, makes perfect sense because that conference is awful. So, yeah, they'll fit right in. But, you know, with Oklahoma and Texas joining the SEC this next year, we're getting down to 3 or 4 super conferences. And this is just turning into a full-blown minor league system. College sports are changing. Will it be for the better? I mean, I hope so. I have some real concerns, but I hope so. But the Pac-12 collapsing and the college sports landscape changing completely comes in today on our list at number 2. So we arrive at the number 1 thing that I'm going to remember from the year that was 2023 in the world of sports. And where else could we go? Because the National Football League is the most dominant sports league in America, and it's not really all that close. I mean, a Thursday night garbage game gets better ratings than an MLB World Series Game 7, or an NBA Finals Game 7, or a Stanley Cup Final Game 7. The NFL, here in America, it's king. Yet, the NFL is kind of going through a bit of growing pains right now, because the league has decided to kind of muddle their rules a little bit and ask their 80-year-old referees to do way too much. And as a result, what do we end up talking about far too often? The NFL officiating. Remember, Super Bowl 57 was a great game. Eagles and Chiefs, it came down to the wire, but what do most of us remember? A phantom defensive holding call. And you know, just a few weeks ago, it was the Kansas City Chiefs complaining about an offsides call against their offense, which is actually pretty rich because the Chiefs complaining about a call, I mean, they've benefited more than anyone lately, and yet it comes back on them now. You know, the NFL referees are making their presence felt far too often. And unfortunately, it is going to be one of the things that we remember from 2023. We will see if that league can figure some things out and correct it. Otherwise, I think they're going to drive some people away. And that is not a good sign for the NFL. But those are the stories we are going to remember from 2023. Okay, YouTube, make sure you go and check out the rest of the podcast this week, because this week on the Daily Dose, we're actually taking a look back at the year that was 2023 in our first podcast of the year. And we're looking back at some of the sports figures that we lost. No, it's not like a sad show. We're not like doing a morning show, nothing like that. But some people we lost in the world of sports, honestly, you might not have heard about it, or you might have forgot about it, even if you did. So go over and check out the rest of the podcast. I will leave a link here in the comments on YouTube for you. Hope you all are doing well. Hope you had a very safe and very happy new year, and I will see you all next week.